You're watching Major League Baseball's virtual network. I'm Nicholas Callis. These are your game recaps, standing updates, and league leaders from Wednesday, June the 3rd, 2020. The Red Sox and Indians played each other, a relatively close game, but the Indians got shut out, and the Red Sox won. Hector Velasquez got the win, and Brandon Workman earned his 19th save of the season. The White Sox and Royals played each other an AL Central game in this one, and the White Sox won 8-4. The White Sox got 5 runs in the first and 2 runs in the 8th, the only runs they scored in the game. The Royals were making a comeback. They got a run in the 7th and 3 runs in the 8th inning, but it was too little, too late. They ended up losing. Gio Gonzalez got the win, his 7th of the season. The Rays and Twins played each other, 4-3 the final score of this game. It took 10 innings to complete, but the Twins won thanks to a walk-off home run by Jorge Polanco. Sergio Romo got the win, and Chaz Rowe got the loss. The Angels and Rangers played each other, AL West baseball here, 4-2 the final score. The Rangers had the lead after the 5th inning. It was 2-0, but then the Angels tied the game up in the 7th, put up 2 in the 9th to win it, and Hansel Robles locked down the save for the Angels, his 18th of the season. The Yankees and Mariners played each other, 7-5 the final score. Despite the Yankees out-hitting the Mariners 13-10, they couldn't win. Taijuan Walker got the win, Jay Happ got the loss, and Matt McGill earned his 17th save of the season. The Tigers and Athletics played each other, and the A's routed the Tigers. 15-1 was the final score. It was a close game in the 5th inning. The Athletics took the lead. It was 2-1, but they were really hungry in the 7th inning, and the 8th for that matter. 6 runs in the 7th, 7 runs in the 8th, and they won by a large margin. Mike Fiers got the win, Matthew Boyd got the loss, and J.B. Wendelken earned his first save of the season. NL East baseball, the Marlins blanked the Phillies, 7-0 the final score. The Marlins scored early, 2 runs in the 2nd, 3 runs in the 3rd. It was plenty enough for them to win because the Phillies didn't score at all. Sandy Alcantara got the win, and Zach Eflin got the loss. The Nationals and Brewers played each other, 5-2 the final score. The Nats had the lead in the 4th inning, but then the Brew Crew came back to tie it in the 5th. Then the Nats took the lead almost immediately after. They got 3 runs at the bottom of the 6th inning, and they won. Steven Strasburg got the win. Adrian Hauser is still winless on the year. He's 0-6 now, and Sean Doolittle earned his 22nd save of the season. Interleague baseball in this one, the Astros beat the Mets 7-1. The final score. Lance McCullers Jr. got the win, and Jacob deGrom got the loss. NL West baseball in this one, the Rockies beat the Diamondbacks 9-4 the final score of this game. The Diamondbacks had the lead. They got a run in the 1st, 2 in the 3rd, 1 in the 6th, but then the Rockies struck for 8 runs in the 7th inning, and they carried this ball game away. Carlos Estevez got the win, and Bracho got the loss. NL Central baseball in this one, the Reds edged the Pirates 8-7 the final score of this game, and it took the Reds coming back in the top of the 9th inning to win it. Other than that, there was a lot of offense in this game. Michael Lorenzen got the win, Keone Kela blew the save in the top of the 9th inning, and that set up Raisel Iglesias to earn his 12th save of the season in the bottom of the 9th. Interleague baseball, the Orioles beat the Cubs 4-3 the final score. This was evenly matched throughout. The Orioles struck first with 2 runs in the 3rd. They added in an insurance run in the 5th that they needed because the Cubs tied the game in the bottom of the 5th inning, but then in the 9th, the Orioles scored a run and won the ball game. Michael Rucker got the win, Daniel Winkler got the loss, and Michael Givens now at 20 saves on the year. The Braves and Dodgers played each other, and the Dodgers won by a score of 5-2. Walker Buehler got his 10th win of the season in this game. Mike Fultonavich got the loss, and Kenley Jansen earned his 23rd save of the year. And the Padres and Giants played each other, a close game that was separated by just 1 run, and the Padres got shut out. The Giants scored their run early in the 3rd inning, and that run held up. Jeff Samardzija got the win, Dinelson Lamet got the loss, Tony Watson earned his 15th save of the year. Let's take a look at standings now, starting in the American League East. The New York Yankees are still at the top. They're 37-26, though they haven't had any hot streaks toward the end of May and now in early June, and they lost today. The Blue Jays are 33-29. They're 3.5 games back of the Yankees now. They've won 6 games in a row, and they've won 8 of their last 10. The Orioles are in 3rd place. They're 6.5 games back. 30-32 is their record. They've won 2 games in a row, and they passed the Rays. The Rays lost to the Twins today. The Rays are 30-34 now, 7.5 games back. And the Red Sox, for the first time this season, for the first time in quite a while since the standings have been set, have the Red Sox not been in 5th place. They're tied for 4th now with the Rays, also with a 30-34 record. They're 7.5 games back. They've won 6 of their last 10 games. In the American League Central, the Twins continue to dominate. They have the best record in baseball, 44-19. They're on a 6-game winning streak, and they've won 8 of their last 10 games. The White Sox are 39-23. They're 4.5 games back. They won today. The Indians lost today. They're 34-29. They're 10 games back. Tigers are 23-38. They're 20 games back. They've lost 3 games in a row. And the Royals are 20-42. They're 23.5 games back of the Twins for first place. In the American League West, the Oakland Athletics won today. They're 38-25, still at the top of this division. The Astros have won 2 games in a row against the Mets. They're 35-27, 2.5 games back. The Angels are 29-32. They're 8 games back. The Rangers are 26-36, 11.5 games back. And the Mariners are still in last place. They're 24-40, and they're 14.5 games back of first place. The American League wildcard standings look like this. The White Sox are still at the top. They're in a tough division in baseball, with the Twins being the best team in all of baseball. The Astros are in second place in the AL West. They're second on this wildcard list. And then you have all the teams that are not in the wildcard spots at this moment. The Indians are close, though, 1.5 games back of the Astros for that second wildcard spot. The Blue Jays are 2 games back, and then the rest of the teams are separated. The Blue Jays are the last team with a winning percentage over 500, and the last team that's kind of close, because then you have the Orioles, who are 5 games back with a winning percentage under 500, and it just descends from there. In the National League East, the Washington Nationals are still at the top. They're 36-25. The Phillies, 33-27. They're 2.5 games back. The Marlins are 33-29, 3.5 games back. The Braves, 31-32, ever so close. They've been on the line of a 500 winning percentage, but now they're below that. They're 6 games back. They're on a 3-game losing streak. And the Mets still in last place with a 26-35 record. The only team left in the NL East without 30 wins. They're 10 games back of the Nats. They're on a 6-game losing streak, and they've lost 8 of their last 10 games. In the National League Central, the Cardinals still at the top and still the only team in this division with a winning percentage over 500. The Cubs, 30-33, they're 2.5 games back. The Brewers are 28-34, they're 4 games back. And I would like to point this out because this has been a theme in the NL Central, but every time the first place team is not doing well, the closest teams to that first place team in this division aren't doing well either. So the Cardinals have lost 2 games in a row, but so have the Cubs, and the Brewers have lost 3 in a row. So the Cardinals remain in first place, and the other teams in the NL Central suffer a winning percentage below 500. Now, the Reds and Pirates have been toward the bottom of this division for most of the year, so they don't count as much. But the Reds are 26-36. They're 6 games back. They've won 2 games in a row, though they lost 7 of their last 10. And the Pirates are 23-38. They're still in last place. They're 8.5 games back of the Cardinals. They've lost 4 games in a row. In the National League West, the Los Angeles Dodgers are 43-18. That's good enough for the second best record in Major League Baseball behind the Twins. They're on a 12-game winning streak, and they still lead this division. The Padres are 37-26. They've fallen to 7 games back now of the Dodgers. This division is turning into a one-team race. The Diamondbacks are 32-30. They're 11.5 games back. It's not even such a bad record. And that's something to point out, too, with the National League Central. You have all these teams with a winning percentage under 500. And some of these other teams in the other divisions would lead. Like the Padres would be at the top of the NL Central if they were in that division. Same thing with the Diamondbacks. They'd be close to first place, close to the Cardinals. But that's how baseball works. So instead of being close to first in another division, they're 11.5 games back of this division because the Dodgers are absolutely dominating. The Rockies are 25-36. They're 18 games back, and the Giants are still in last place. They're 25-37. They're 18.5 games back of the Dodgers. Here are the National League wildcard standings. The Padres, 37-26. They're at the top. They're in second place in the National League West. The Phillies are in second in the National League East. They have the second wildcard spot by a game. The Marlins are also in the NL East. They're 1 game back. The Diamondbacks also relatively in contention at this point, 2 games back, and then it gets kind of fuzzy because the rest of the teams on this standings list have a winning percentage under 500, but the Braves still in contention. They're 3.5 games back, and the Cubs 4.5 games back, which isn't an unconquerable amount of games to overcome, but then the rest of the teams just descend from there. Looking at league leaders now, starting with batting average leaders in the American League. Miguel Cabrera, 368 average. Carlos Santana, 363. And Michael Brantley, third best with a 344. DJ LeMahieu, close too. He also has a 344, but that's 4th best in the American League. In the National League, David Dahl has a 364 batting average. Jonathan Villar, second best with a 355. And Nicholas Castellanos, third best with a 353. Hits leaders in the American League, DJ LeMahieu and Miguel Andujar, Yankee teammates at the top. Third best is Miguel Cabrera with 85. In the National League, Jonathan Villar at 93, and it's not close. Ronald Acuna Jr. hasn't reached 80 yet. He's at 78, but he's second best on this list. Paul Goldschmidt and Nicholas Castellanos tied for third best with 77. At bat leaders in the American League, Miguel Andujar leads with 262. In the National League, Jonathan Villar also with 262. That's also the NL lead. Doubles leaders in the American League, Anthony Rendon at 25, Jose Abreu with 23, and Miguel Andujar with 22. In the National League, Jonathan Villar is at 31, Christian Yelich is at 23, Brandon Crawford, Ketel Marte, and Trey Turner tied for third best with 19. Triples leaders in the American League, Jose Altuve's at 5, Adalberto Mondesi's at 4. Then you have that long list of players tied with 3, tied for third best. In the National League, Jonathan Villar at the top with 7. Hunter Pence, Victor Robles, and Chris Bryant are all tied for second best with 5 triples. Home run leaders in the American League, Josh Donaldson has 22 home runs. Chris Davis and JD Martinez are now tied for second best. They each have 21. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. still at 20, but that's now good for fourth best. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. has 25 home runs, Max Muncy with 18, and Paul Goldschmidt rounds out the top 3 with 17. RBI leaders in the American League, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. has 62. Josh Donaldson netted a couple RBIs against the Rays. He is at 56 now. And Chris Davis has tied Austin Meadows for the third best spot. Chris Davis at 54 now. Austin Meadows has been at 54. In the National League, Paul Goldschmidt at 50. Cody Bellinger one behind him with 49. And Christian Yelich third best with 45. Runs scored leaders in the American League, JD Martinez is at 50. Rafael Devers, Marcus Semien, and Yohan Moncada tied for second best with 47. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. has 55, and Trey Turner, the only other player of over 50 runs scored this year, he's at 53. Stolen base leaders in the American League, Adalberto Mondesi has 14, D. Gordon has 13, Malik Smith has 12. In the National League, Starling Marte, still the only player in baseball with over 20 stolen bases, he's at 24. Jonathan Villar knocking on that door, though, he's at 19. Trey Turner third best with 18. Base on balls leaders in the American League, Shin-Soo Choo is at 39, Alex Bregman at 38, Travis Shaw and Marcus Semien tied for third best with 37. In the National League, Rhys Hoskins is at 41, Brandon Belt's at 40, Paul Goldschmidt and Mookie Betts tied for third best with 39. On base percentage leaders in the American League, Miguel Cabrera is at 436, Mike Trout's at 433, and Carlos Santana rounds out the top 3 with a 426 on base percentage. In the National League, Paul Goldschmidt's at a 442 OBP, Dansby Swanson at a 432, and Christian Yelich at a 429. Slugging percentage leaders in the American League, Josh Donaldson's at a 684, Mike Trout's at a 659, and Chris Davis is at a 651. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. has a 753 slugging percentage, Christian Yelich second best with a 659, and Paul Goldschmidt third best with a 652. On base percentage plus slugging percentage leaders in the American League, Josh Donaldson a 1.102 leads. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. has a 1.174, and he leads the NL. Wins leaders in the American League. This is for pitchers. Kenta Maeda at the top. He has 8 wins. He had an opportunity to get 9, but he got a no decision in his start against the Rays today. Hyunjin Ryu, Jake Odorizzi, and Gio Gonzalez tied for second best with 7. In the National League, Walker Buehler, the first pitcher in baseball to reach 10 wins this year. Tied for second best in the NL is David Price and Madison Bumgarner. They're at 7 wins. Losses leaders in the American League. Kenta Maeda and Mike Minor still undefeated. They're at the top of this list. In the National League, Walker Buehler has just 1 loss, and he's the only pitcher in the NL left with only 1 loss on the season. Saves leaders in the American League. Brad Hand is at 23, Liam Hendricks is at 22, Michael Givens rounds out the top 3 with 20. In the National League, Giovanni Gallegos has 24. He hasn't gotten a save in a few games now. Kenley Jansen's at 23, Sean Doolittle and Kirby Yates tied for third best with 22. ERA leaders in the American League, Jordan Zimmerman, the only one with an ERA under 2, he's at a 1.99. In the National League, Walker Buehler, the only pitcher with an ERA under 2, he's at a 1.60. Home runs allowed among American League pitchers, Mike Minor and Gio Gonzalez are at 4, they're at the top spot. In the National League, Garrett Richards, the only pitcher left in the NL with 4 home runs allowed. Shutout leaders in the American League, Garrett Cole, Masahiro Tanaka, and Jake Odorizzi have each thrown 2 shutouts this year, and they're at the top. In the National League, Jacob deGrom has 3 shutouts this year. Zach Wheeler and Walker Buehler tied for second best with 2. Strikeout leaders in the American League, Garrett Cole's at 111, Lucas Giolito's at 97, Carlos Carrasco third best with 95. In the National League, Steven Strasburg has 108, Clayton Kershaw has 103, Robbie Ray third best with 97. Complete games thrown among American League pitchers. Jake Odorizzi's at 2, Garrett Cole's at 2, as is Masahiro Tanaka. They're all tied for the league best. In the National League, Jacob deGrom has 3, as does Zach Wheeler. Tied for third best is Aaron Nola and Walker Buehler. They each have 2. Innings pitched leaders. Hyunjin Ryu in the American League has 87 and 2/3 innings recorded. He's at the top. In the National League, Clayton Kershaw has 90 innings recorded, and he's at the top of this list. Walks allowed among American League pitchers. Carlos Carrasco, the least amount of walks allowed. He's at 11. In the National League, Brett Anderson and Trevor Williams at the top with 16 walks allowed. Whip leaders in the American League. Jake Odorizzi, the only one with a whip under 1. He's at a .98. In the National League, Clayton Kershaw, the lowest whip. He has a 1. Aaron Nola, second best with a 103. And Mike Soroka, third best with a 104. Pitching WAR leaders in the American League. Jake Odorizzi has a 2.3. Carlos Carrasco, Shane Bieber, and Corey Kluber all have a 2.1. They make up the top 4 on this list. In the National League, Yu Darvish has a 2.2, as does Walker Buehler and Jacob deGrom. They're close to the top spot. A couple of the insignificant figures vary a bit, but they make up the top 3 on this list. Batting WAR leaders in the American League. Marcus Semien, 4.3, that's the lead. Josh Donaldson, 4.1, and DJ LeMahieu, a 4.0. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. is at a 5 WAR. Christian Yelich behind him by a bit. Second best with a 4.1 WAR, and Jonathan Villar rounds out the top 3 with a 3.7. These have been your game recaps, standing updates, and league leaders from Wednesday, June the 3rd, 2020. I'm Nicholas Callis. You've been watching Major League Baseball's Virtual Network.